How you doing, Nick? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, we were on the field today for about 4 hours. So
Yeah,
it was good though.
Yeah, it was real good.
All right.
Okay, you guys, we're good to go.
All right. Are there any questions we cannot ask you just in case, just to be sure?
No, I think we're open to all the questions. I'll interject if there's something that we want to stay away from regarding. There's a question from Nick that we want to stay away from, but other than that, it's an open forum. Obviously, as a precursor, as we had discussed, it's being a Filipino, obviously. I think it's a really cool opportunity for us to be able to do something kind of neat and fun, and hopefully get some success. Especially, I told this to Vince, and we can talk about it. Nick has been working with a Japanese kicker, Tashiki Sato, who recently got a contract for over at the CFL, and Nick's been working with him over the last, during the whole offseason, and there he is. And this is not a Japanese American; this is a Japanese guy, and similar stature as I am, although not as big. But there's that opportunity. I think with what's our population, 112, we can kind of weed them out and see where they are. So yeah, any questions that you guys have, please feel free. And if there's anything that I need to interject, I will do so.
All right. So I'm setting up the live stream now. So on my cue. All right. Very good to go.
Hello, guys. Good afternoon, or good morning, actually, over there.
Yeah. It's still setting up. Right. Here we go. Good morning to all the followers of Sports Bytes Philippines. Thank you for joining us in this lovely morning, Sunday morning. For today, we have a couple of special guests, but before we introduce them, allow me to call on my partner for this morning, veteran journalist, Mr. Vincent Juico.
Good morning to all the viewers of Sports Bytes. We hope that you get a kick out of our discussion this morning. And this is especially for the soccer or football players out there, to the rugby players and those who've kicked before, who have experience in kicking long distances. This is for you.
All right, thanks, Vince. And okay, let's introduce our guests. For first half, we have pro sports agent, Mr. Bo Navarro.
Hello, Philippines. Good morning. Kumusta?
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here with you guys, and thanks for having us.
Yes. And of course, we're honored to have the presence of an NFL player, Mr. Nick Novak.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I think it would be proper to ask how are things over there in the United States, Mr. Bo?
Things are going well. As worldwide, sports entertainment has taken a back seat regarding this pandemic. And with that being said, we're all trying to figure out a way how to operate in some sort of normalcy, particularly the sports world and especially the NFL. So there's been a little bit of success with the rollout of the vaccine being successful right now. So hopefully and praying that we eventually get out of this and move forward with our everyday lives. But as mentioned, I think we're starting to get ahead of this thing, and hopefully if everyone listens and do their part, we get ahead of it. And as mentioned, we get back to some normalcy around here.
Yep. I think that applies here in the Philippines also. How about you, Nick? How are things over on your end?
Good. My wife's actually a nurse, so she comes home and gives us the update. Things seem to be slowing down at the hospital. So in terms of COVID, it looks like we're on the up and up. I'm about to get my second shot here pretty soon. But as far as coaching goes and training, very busy, and seems like I'm always on the field every day trying to help a free agent or help a high school kid or a soccer player who's never kicked before try to play high school. So.
All right. Okay, Vince. I think it's time for you to fire away, Vince.
Okay, Bo, Nick, let's get right to it. How did this $1 million leg start?
Well, let me take a just a quick preview or review of it first. Over the last, actually over a year now, when the pandemic hit, NFL teams were having a hard time, or actually they were prohibited from bringing in free agents for looks, for tryouts, right, for workouts. And so Nick came up with a great idea and say, hey, since NFL teams aren't bringing players in, why don't we, in a sense, bring the players to them via virtual Zoom? And so we did our first one, and we had a couple of hiccups, but a year in now, I think it's a pretty well-oiled machine, and we've had some success. And Nick will talk a little bit more about that. We've gotten the praise of NFL GMs, NFL personnel, front office personnel, and it's an improving product. We haven't mastered it yet. There are things that we still want to add. But as far as giving the NFL free agents an opportunity to be seen by the decision makers, it's been a huge success. And segueing into that, got thinking about, well, you know what, we have in the Philippines 100 million people, right? And our ethnicity doesn't necessarily grow up to be 6'4", 300 pounds, right? But we have developed some really solid soccer players, in addition to, I believe, Australian rugby out there. So we have, I believe, the capability to do so in order to compete in this space. And I put two and two together. Nick is a personal friend of mine for over a decade. We've seen it all. And there's only one guy that I would trust with this project and say, hey, let's see if we can find someone down there, right, and give them a legitimate shot at being looked at, these NFL decision makers, and literally take a look. And as mentioned, we've had some success not only with the NFL free agents here in the United States, but players from Southeast Asia as well. And Nick will tell a little bit more about that and how successful the program has been this year.
All right, Vince, do you have any more?
Oh well, my first question for Nick is there an advantage that Asians have over say over Caucasians when it comes to kicking? Um, we know Asians to be petite, short. Is that an advantage in kicking? Lower vertical base, is that a factor?
Well, just with working with Toshi, I don't want to generalize or anything, but my experience with Toshi and other Japanese kickers is the mindset. I see a focus that is almost inherent, a poise. And so when I evaluate guys, I look at their mindset, and I feel Asian, there's just this work ethic that Toshi learned so quickly. When he is on the field, he has a routine that he can count on and trust. And it was pretty easy working with him technically, mentally. It was just a matter of putting him in situations to compete and perform well and do it often. And when he did that, we sent it off to teams. I used all my contacts to help him get visibility. And it's that mindset that I think will, when you look at Jason Myers, who's an active pro in the league right now for the Seattle Seahawks, one 18th or one Filipino. He is one of the most focused guys that I've ever been around, and work ethic is second to none. So my goal is to continue to help guys that are at a huge disadvantage. They don't live here full time. The quality of kickers coming through college, graduating, possibly getting drafted, or now they're free agents. There's hundreds of guys in the street that are aspiring to play in the NFL. So the guys that don't live here full time, they're already at a disadvantage. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a chance. And I see that those guys need an advocate. All free agents do. there's a lack of opportunity, and I identified that while I was playing, when I didn't have a job, that there needed to be more year round opportunity to get in front of teams to compete, and in real time, a team can watch you through Zoom, Instagram Live, or whatever you want to use. But it's not, I mean, anybody can go live. It's the fact that I have, hundreds of guys that I've earned their trust, their belief, and they count on me to put a great product on Zoom that they can watch. And we have Bo. I can't do it without him and his group of guys. The film quality is second to none. I mean, we have 3 angles. It's just 3 angles, meaning a side, back, front, on most of all of the things we do when it comes to punt, field goal, and kickoff. And we get that to teams within 3 to 6 days, let's say. So Toshi is one example of a guy that is in the CFL now. He's played in some pro leagues out here, but this is his first real opportunity to play professionally, sign a contract, live up in CFL. So I want to do that for more worldwide. But now it's Philippines is the focus, and the community here has always been so supportive of me as a player, as a Charger. And so I would love to go there, love to see it with my own eyes, a soccer player, somebody on the field just practicing that has an interest, have a camp, and we identify someone with that an opportunity like that. We bring them out here, and I'm sure Bo would speak on it more, but I love to go out and evaluate talent, scout, and we found a guy in Ireland one year. We found just to keep going all over the continent to try to find guys that might have a chance.
Brian?
All right. I want to ask, Nick actually mentioned what I was going to ask to Sir Bo. Sir Bo, in the Philippines, soccer is what comes to mind. I'm just curious, have you reached out to any of the clubs here or the local football bodies?
I haven't officially yet. I do know Saido Fitas, his father is part of the soccer federation on there, I believe what it's called. But we haven't officially reached out. This is literally our introduction to this program. And as what Nick was saying there, the biggest thing that we bring here is the validity of the program, that this is not just a camp that we're putting out there. These are legitimate NFL player personnel in the front office and on the field. That's going to provide a realistic opportunity for someone that has the ability to do the kicks. I'm sorry, whether it's the kicks or even the long snapping, right? If a person has that ability, and we identify that person, right, we can literally have that person be looked at. And this is not unlike a story with Young Ho Koo from I believe Atlanta Falcons. Nick, he's with the Falcons, I believe, right?
Started with the Chargers.
Started with the Chargers, and he's considered one of the best kickers in the league now. And Nick has a personal relationship with it. He's Korean, and he's I think he was NFL player, AFC Player of the Week a couple times this past season. So with that being said, again, this is the first introduction of this thing. What we want to do is get the word out. One of the challenges that I think we have with Sai is there's not a lot of footballers in the Philippines, right? and trying to get the oblong shaped ball down there, we'll find ways to get it down there. It's just a matter of, again, going back to what I said earlier. This is not for fun and games. This is a legitimate shot and opportunity dealing with the highest of NFL personnel at the GM level for players to get that opportunity. Because again, now we're in a Zoom environment, right? So the opportunity has expanded, and that's what we want to do with this program.
All right. Let me go to Nick, because I read somewhere, Nick, that you started with soccer. So does this mean that the transition will not be that hard for you, just in case in the Philippines that the soccer teams or even the rugby teams are interested in your program? You're on mute, Nick.
Sorry. What playing soccer from age 5 to 18 helped me learn the skill really quickly. It took me a summer to kind of learn the swing. Of course, there's so many nuances to the game, but my first time learning was one of my best years because I wasn't thinking a whole lot about it, but I knew how to kick a ball. I just had to learn how to kick a football one way, not with the inside of my foot or the outside of my foot, putting spin on it, making it banana kick. I just had to figure out how to make this thing go straight all the time and high. But it's not a difficult transition. I believe that my coaching and that will help someone develop quickly. It usually takes anywhere from, I don't know, 3 months to 6 months. And I'm talking about an elite soccer player can develop to become a very talented kicker in that time span. That professional players, elite high school players, college players, those types of guys that are very skillful on the field as soccer players are able to easily learn the skill.
All right, thanks. Because I remember when I was young, I used to kick a ball. It's at the half court of the field, and it went in. That's why I told Vince, okay, now I understand. All right, Vince, it's yours, Vince.
For both Bo and Nick, when you brought this idea up to the different NFL teams, what was their initial reaction? Was there an immediate buy-in? Did they want to evaluate it first? What was their initial reaction?
I'll answer that, Vince. The immediate reaction was actually of joy, because in March of 2020, when everything literally shut down in the United States of all sports, whether it's high school, Juico, NCAA Division 1, 2, or 3, professional sports, it was stopped. And at that time in the NFL, March leading into the season is technically sometimes the most important part of the year for free agents, because that's when they get flown in to be seen by these teams, right? And so when that shut down, and every single NFL team is going to have different needs at the end of every season, and particularly for teams that were missing their special teams players, they were all, well, what do we do now? Because the season was still scheduled to push forward, but how are you going to push forward leading into the season without OTAs, mini camp, training camp, without being able to see who's out there that's available? And not even that, but at the same time, and Nick will speak more about this, is the difference of the mentality of a player that's kicking on his own training versus actually having a player competing against his peers, the different pressure that they will have, right? And so to answer your question, right off the bat, when we first sent out the emails, it wasn't very long that Nick was getting testimonials and emails from the general manager of the team, literally thanking him, because now the teams were having the ability to take a look at, well, what players are out there on the streets that we can take a look at, and that we see if that person is going to be a fit into our system. But yeah, it was a great fit, and that's how we move forward along. And the biggest thing why this works, guys, is because the fact that Nick is managing it, Nick is handling it, right? Nick is not a high school coach that is putting a program together for kickers. Nick has a 10-year NFL resume. He's had over 50 of these tryouts. So the special teams coach at the team, including the GM, knew that the program that's being ran, the way it's being organized and coordinated by Nick, is exactly what they would do if they were on site. So he knows what they're looking for, and all these workouts, although there's somewhat of a template of what we do on the field, Nick will throw curveballs at all these guys, because that's what the special teams coach will do to these players, and including interviews. We interview players and we determine how they answered, because that's what happens if a player gets flown in to a facility. So it was received well. Again, this will not work if someone else was handling it, because of the fact that you have a 10-year NFL veteran, someone that's knowledgeable of the game, the ins and outs of it, and also well respected within the game, and also the know-how. That's the biggest thing, the know-how. What do you do, or how do you put a player through a workout? I wouldn't know, but Nick does. I guarantee you, 50 workouts, he knows exactly what they're going to throw at him.
Yeah, you said it very well. The reception has been great, especially with GMs that I've played for. They're very supportive. The thing that they love the most is we can work out a guy, let's just say JJ Molson or Dominic Eberle, multiple times throughout an off season or during the season, and they can see a body of work. There's multiple free agents that haven't played an NFL game yet that need this film, and this film is almost they've said it's almost like playing in a preseason or 4 games. You get to see a guy compete. If a guy's 80% one workout, now he's 90%, now he's 90%, and his worst day is 80% over the course of 10 workouts. That shows a body of work to give to a team. And the ability to go to our YouTube link and watch, there's going to be 112 videos, individual videos over the course of 16 workouts since last August. So the reception has been very, very good. And I wouldn't keep doing it if I take that back. I'd probably still do it if they told me to stop, because my heart is in a good place. And my goal isn't to make money on these things. My goal is to get guys exposure. It's never been about that. I've gone through the ups and downs of being hired and fired and what that feels like, and not drafted and all this. So that's the majority of guys that are kickers that are unemployed trying to make it, and punters. So these coaches and GMs know that I understand that mindset and what it takes. And so I use my past and my past experiences and my relationships to help these guys. They trust me because I've gone through it. And so the response, the reception has been great. And I'm going to keep going until get as many guys signed and, just help as many guys as possible.
Okay. Nick, can you walk us through the process, the story of how you reached out to Toshi, or was it Toshi who reached out to you guys? How did this all unfold?
Toshi was here training, and back then I was kicking. It was probably, can't remember exact, 7 or 8 years ago, that I was still in the thick of my career, and met Toshi just training on the field. And last year, when I finally decided to, I was dealing with some injuries, decided to train. I haven't really officially retired. I don't think people actually retire. They just kind of get older and the opportunities stop coming. But as I stepped down from training and focused more on coaching, I took him on full time. I said, you need to get here. You need to live here as long as possible, as long as your visa will allow. Stay as long as you can, go back, and then come back again. He ended up playing in the spring league, football league out here. He actually got COVID the couple of days before the championship game, so he wasn't able to play in it. So that was disappointing. So he went back to Japan, came back now. He is going to play in the CFL. He just got drafted in the global draft. So we've been great friends from the start, and as competitors, and now it's coach, and just trying to. He's done multiple workouts with me with the Zoom private workouts, and it's a friendship first. And I see a great deal of talent, and he's proven it on the field now. In leagues over in Japan and here in the spring league, playing a few games. So I just want to help him keep going and believing that the opportunities will keep coming. But now that he's got a contract, I think that's very, very helpful, encouraging. Teams know about him. It's just we got to keep him here as often as possible to if a team calls, he can easily jump on a plane and be at a workout.
That's quite a story. Brian?
Yes, thanks, Vince. I just like to ask, Sir Bo, is this when did this academy start? What year was this?
Last year.
Okay, just last year. All right.
Because Nick was playing for the Renegades LA XFL team, and when Wildcat, I'm sorry, who was Renegades? I know I always
that was Houston Renegades.
That's Houston. So he was playing for LA, and he as he mentioned, he wasn't technically retired yet, and when everything shut down, we were literally we were chatting, we were talking, and I think Nick has a tendency to sometimes text me late at night at midnight, and I got a text at midnight. It's like, hey, I got an idea. I was like, okay, what you got? And from there, I mean, the rest is history. And here we are a year later. We've had some success. As we discussed, a lot of the NFL teams like what we're doing. Whether it's JJ Molson out of UCLA, who's now with the practice squad with the Green Bay Packers, Dominic Eberle, who's now with the Las Vegas Raiders. Giorgio was called up by Tennessee, I believe. Yep. Tristan Vizcaino right now is with the LA Chargers. So and then as Nick mentioned, one of the guys that he works closely with, his personal coach, is Jason Myers, who's Filipino, is considered the best kicker in the league, going 24 for 24 last year. The word is out. There's something with a secret sauce that Nick is cooking. So, hopefully we can get some of that over there, because I'm going to reiterate, Nick is a close friend of mine, and I think it'd be one hell of a story if we were able to provide something for the country. And granted, we've had some players in the league. Roman Gabriel is Filipino. The first full-blooded Filipino was actually a client of mine. Is Eugene Amano. He was the first full-blooded Filipino who played for the Tennessee Titans. Started out as a center, then as a guard. I mean, he's kind of a enigma, because he's 6'4", playing at 325 pounds, 345. Ted Bruschi's part Filipino. Doug Baldwin is half. I want to say Slayton out of Texans is Filipino. And, there's a couple more that's out there. We know they're there. But I think with this program that Nick has implemented, and with the popularity of soccer, and the numbers a lot higher, because you don't have to be 6'4", 350 pounds. I think hopefully there'd be some opportunities there. I mean, it's similar to the story of the baseball movie, $1 Million Arm, with Tom House and all those guys. And I was like, why not try to but more than anything as well, as Nick mentioned, what's important here is providing that opportunity. I've been a firm believer that our country and our athletes, it's not from the lack of talent, but it's always the lack of opportunity. And here's a legitimate opportunity for Nick to create this platform for an athlete, that if you have the ability to kick this pigskin through an upright or snap it between your legs, hey, let's see what it is. And I'll be damned. I'll help you as much as I can. I'm sure Nick as well.
So you mentioned just last year. When I think about last year, this was when the COVID started. Was that a factor in you continuing your plans, or did you see it as an opportunity?
I think it's an opportunity for the players, right? And Nick doesn't do this for the money. As mentioned, his story. I mean, I can tell you stories of him and I going through a couple things. I remember one quick story where we were supposed to meet for coffee, and next thing you know, he's late. I was like, where is this guy? Next thing I know, he's like, hey, I'm on a plane. I got a game in Kansas City. And prior to that, we were literally at a casino looking for a field for him to start this program. This was back in, what year was that, Nick?
Probably 2011 or 12.
Yeah, around there. And you know, so it's an opportunity for the players that he's creating because he's been through it, as mentioned, being hired, being fired, you know, not knowing what's there tomorrow. And you know, it's an opportunity for everyone. And he's creating a platform for these free agents to be seen, particularly in this pandemic that we're living, right? And so, if anything, he's kind of changing the game because most of the time, NFL teams will be very limited to how many players they can see because they're not going to fly in every single player. But if you have, you know, if you have players that are competing 12 players per event, now all of a sudden the pool is expanding and the opportunities being given to these athletes because teams will take a look at, let's say, for example, the Jaguars, or I'm just saying that team, by no means am I mentioning the Jaguars are looking for anybody, but if the Jaguars need some, you know, a player, you know, well, where is this library of information that they can find of a player? Well, go to Nick's YouTube and, you know, he can easily be found. He's very aggressive on Instagram. Nick Novak on Instagram.com is where Nick is at. He's great on there. He replies to his messages and please hit him up. I can be found on Twitter at Bo Navarro. Nick can be found on Twitter as well. And we'll send you guys those links. If you guys can put a Chiron up there, we reply to our messages all the time and we'd be more than happy to get this thing going.
All right, let me go to Nick. Nick, I'm just curious. In the years that you've been training, I mean, these players, what is the first thing you look at when they started training, and were there any obstacles or problems you had along the way?
Well, the first thing is obviously there's a standard you have to kind of meet at the NFL level, of course, and so yes, everyone wants to know how far can you kick off. Is it out the back of the end zone? That's always a question. Can they kick it out of the back? Most guys can't, but when you find a guy who is averaging somewhere around -5 to -8, 7, that's a big time leg. So you identify leg strengths. You look at when you shift to field goals. Obviously, you look at consistency and how far a guy can kick. You would think a guy who kicks 75 yards on a kickoff, it would translate to field goal. That doesn't always happen, or vice versa. You're a very good field goal kicker, but you can't kick off as far for whatever reason, transfer the power. So you identify those things. Consistency, able to repeat the swing, mindset. How I look at the routine is when he steps on the field, all the way to when he gets to the spot where he's kicking. What's his routine? Does he trust it? I look at how does this guy react after he misses a field goal? Can he bounce back and make the next one? I look at form. Obviously, I have a form focused kind of mentality. I want the guy to have a professional, smooth, effortless type of swing, not so much let's kick this thing as hard as possible and now our back is blown out 2 years into it. And so we're trying to develop swings. I look for swings that are smooth, that are effortless, that are able to withstand a 10-year, 15-year career, and not be on IR, in training camp. So those are a few things. Of course, there are measurables, height and all that. I'm not too concerned with it. The average right now of a kicker is probably around 5'11". There's a few guys shorter than that. The guys that, in my experience, that are 5'9" to 5'10" are always very, very strong, very consistent. They have to be. You have to be efficient. You have to kick tall. So if you're 5'9" and you're a cruncher, and you're kicking at 5'3" now because you crunch, that's not going to work. So having a really good posture and tall form is what I look at, especially for shorter kickers. Those are a few of the measurables. And you get into things like, I'm not sure if you heard of TrackMan Golf. They look at the spin rate of a football. They look at how high does the ball go over the line of scrimmage 7 yards away. So the lift on a ball, the true distance, the speed off of the foot. When the ball comes off your foot, how fast is it? coming off your foot. Now, not a whole lot of coaches look at that at the next level, but when you're a free agent, all that stuff kind of helps to sell a guy, to promote a guy, is that, hey, this guy, he's hitting a ball that's similar to the top 4 guys in the NFL right now. So it's useful information for a guy that we're discovering, say in the Philippines. He's able to kick a ball that's similar to the top 4 in the NFL. So that type of information is very useful. And TrackMan would be a good person to also bring to the Philippines to test these athletes out. I mean, that's what we're trying to find. We need to develop a packet on a guy that's we're selling a guy essentially. Why should a team hire him versus this guy who just graduated from Notre Dame that, that's maybe didn't get drafted, now he's a free agent. So it's very competitive, and that's why this game is so. That's why I appreciate this game so much, and the career that we were able to have, is because it is extremely difficult, but I want to help someone over there has to be good enough and must have that goal. If I want to play in the NFL one day, I want to kick a football. Well, I want to help you do that.
All right. Okay, Vince, do you have any more questions for Nick? Or
Well, before we let Nick go, without going into details, are there others in the pipeline that you're bringing in for a tryout?
There's guys every week in the States. Yes, we're still trying to find guys. There's a rugby player from Ireland that's here right now. He'll probably be at my next virtual, which is June 15th, is the next one coming up. And we have another one June 29th. But yes, we need to do a better job at finding guys when I'm sitting in my computer right now and trying to discover guys in the Philippines. It's kind of difficult. So I wish there was a database or something where I could look at, go to, that guys, of course, contact me on Instagram, contact Bo, and we'll start doing, let's say, we could always do virtual. I'm always doing virtual lessons. If you want to learn how to kick for me right now, I could do it over the computer. No problem. You go to the field, I watch, or we break down film. That's another area that we do a lot of. That's what we do. When I come home, I'm working at night, late hours, doing virtual lessons. But to answer your question, there's guys here that for the length of their visa allows our training. So yes, but we need guys from the Philippines. We don't have a kicker in the pipeline yet. And that's the goal right now.
Okay. Well,
hey, I just wanted to add in there. Nick's actually got to go here pretty soon here, but just wanted to reiterate the fact that when Nick said 5'9" and 5'10" players, I think the whole country just rejoiced and cheered because you said the magic numbers: 5'9", 5'10", 5'11". We're right in that space, Nick.
That's right.
all right. So before we let Nick go, can I ask for a screenshot for the 4 of us before you go, Nick? Okay, on 3. Vince, 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us. It was a pleasure learning more about this program of yours, and we'll try as much to help you as we can.
Yeah. We'll send them over. Bo, Nick, if there's anyone interested, we'll send them over right away to get in touch with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear. Hey, we're excited.
Yeah. And
thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Pleasure. All right, but we continue.
Thanks,
with, are we ending, sir, or do you want to talk some more?
I got a couple more minutes. I just got to do dinner, but yeah, I have a couple more minutes, Vince. Right? Thank you for your time, by the way. We appreciate it. Like I said, for me, it's kind of a personal mission. I'm a Philam. I was born in the Philippines. Yep. I frequent the Philippines a lot, actually, Brian. I'm there probably 5 times a year, but haven't been the last year, for obvious reasons. I was there with my young daughter and my wife last, when is that, Vince? November, I think, yeah, that was November of 2019.
Yes,
Was the last
pre-COVID.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're actually itching very hard to come home, and we're missing it quite a bit. My wife actually just said it last night. I was like, gosh, she loved it. She fell in love with it. My wife's from Texas, so for her to fall in love with the country as much as she has means a lot, and for her to give the blessings of hey, let's do more. Hopefully this can be one part of that, and find something. Because see, like I said, I mean, I've been around this game long enough. Yeah. I've seen athletes all types of sizes. This is a space that we can really compete in. We can compete in the space. It's just a matter of finding out. I mean, heck, I bet you there's some kid in the province out there that's kicking a soccer ball 100 feet down, wherever, 100 yards down. But well, let's change that soccer ball into a football and see if you can do it. Because like I said, it's my life mantra has always been it's not from lack of skills, it's been lack of opportunity in our country. And hopefully with you guys helping, I've been blessed to meet a lot of you guys over the last couple of years, and hopefully we can do something really, really cool here.
Well, hopefully when you return, if when things gets back to normal, we can sit down in person to talk about this. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, let me know. Do you have any other questions, Vince?
Last one. Okay. Wait, I'm trying to remember. My train of thought got. Anyway, I'll ask you offline. It's okay. Yeah.
Anytime.
Thanks for your time, Bo.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This is my pleasure. The other thing, I think I already told Vince this, is my company works with a company called American Footballs Without Barriers. And last year, the location was Budapest in Hungary, in which we brought 20 NFL players to Budapest. This year, my partner and I, my business partner, we've entered Manila as a destination for 2022. And so luckily for us, the countries being looked at closely right now is Philippines, Mexico City, or Colombia. Right now, with my voice screaming at them every time, Manila's leading. So hopefully it continues that way, and it'll be really cool to do something neat with that.
Okay, wait. I sorry, Bo. I remember. Okay. You're also connected with MLB.
Yeah.
You're also connected with MLB. So any plans of doing the same outside of the United States, looking for more Asian talent for baseball, particularly here in the Philippines?
It's funny you mentioned that. You and I have a mutual friend, Mike Ochoa.
Yes.
Mike is a very close friend. We've I originally met Mike, probably 6-7 years ago when he was still with Viva Sports Management. And as you know, Mike is baseball hungry, man. That guy loves, besides boxing, he's kind of his forte being a ring play-by-play announcer with the Pacquiao fights. He's a baseball guy. Yes, 100%. We can't let the cat out of the bag yet.
Yes.
But we do have some plans to do something in 2022 with Mike and with trying to be careful with what can
it's
be
okay.
disclosed.
It's okay.
No. We're very close with Adrian Gonzalez, Edgar Gonzalez, and David Gonzalez. The Gonzalez family are MLB family in Mexico. And we've started talking about doing something in 2022 that introduces some sort of I don't want to say a shootout, more of a tournament between Mexico and Philippines. Heck, if they're doing it in the box ring, why not? Let's do it on the baseball field.
Good idea.
And so, but we will probably release more of that story in the next couple of months. But yes, 100% similar to what we've talked about. Baseball is is a category or is a sport that Filipinos can compete in, because again,
Yes.
you don't have to be 6'4", 300 pounds. You have to have speed. You have to have good hand-eye coordination, right? And it's a space that we fit in. And yes, we've had a handful of successful Filipino baseball players, but a lot of them are halves. Tim Lincecum is part Filipino, right? Considered one of the best baseball players in the world at one time. But I'm sure you guys feel as much as I do, is to be able to find and grow a full-blooded Filipino, right, and compete at that level, it is a dream of mine that I've been trying to chase as long as I've lived, right? And that is hopefully something that we can do. I mean, it's sad to say. I mean, he's had a lot of success, but the only person that technically we can say that's done that is Manny Pacquiao, right? But he's a once in a generation type of athlete, right? And I was a tennis player. I grew up a tennis player, played college tennis. That's another space that we fit in, right? I played high Division I tennis at University of Massachusetts, and luckily for me, I had a scholarship, and I've seen at the highest levels of tennis, of players here in the U.S. getting provided full tennis scholarships that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? But then I'll go to the Philippines and I'll go to the province, whether it's in Samal Bataan or Balanga or in Bicol or Novaliches, and I'll go there and I'll see these pullet boys, the pullet boys, the guy that pick up the balls, that will literally play number one at Stanford or UCLA because they have the ability, but yet they can't get it because one, they don't know how, right? And number two, they don't have the support behind it. And on top of that, one of the biggest, just as an FYI, especially on the tennis side, one of the biggest constraints has been the lack of support on the educational side. Because in order to compete or accept that scholarship money from the US, you have to pass the TOEFL, right? And so a lot of the programs there is the training, which is good, but they're lacking the next step. How are you going to pass the test of English language? Because in order for you to accept that $100,000 scholarship, you need to pass the foreign language test. How come we're not offering that to our athletes at the ground level? So with that being said, if we can create that, imagine all these opportunities. And I know that's a touchy subject, especially now with that volleyball player from Japan, whether she's going to accept or she's going to drop the nationality of the Philippines to Japan. That's a touchy, that's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of 50-50 on that, as you guys know where I stand on that. But, again, it goes back to the whole aspect of opportunity and teaching our young kids how to get here and do it right and do it properly. And one last thing, and this is not taking a shot at anybody or any organization that are out there. Just over the last couple of months, I discovered, because I have a couple of friends that are head coaches in the tennis world here, they are saying that they're being contacted by these recruiting agencies, right? So families are hiring recruiting agencies. These agencies are saying they're contacting Division I schools. They're not. We've caught them already saying, well, they contacted Bob Jones over at Indiana State. Well, Bob Jones just said, I have no idea who these guys are. So it's a, that's a whole rabbit hole that we don't want to crawl into right now. But what the problem that I'm seeing is there are families and athletes in the Philippines that are being given false promises, right? And they're being charged money for these recruiting agencies to place them, but they're not doing that. So what it comes down to is finding people like you, Brian, like you, Vince, and telling them, all right, here's your path, go here. There's nothing. This is where you go. This is legitimate, this path, take it, right? So again, that's a entirely different topic that we will discuss at a different time.
Yeah, let's do it on a different. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah.
Okay, Vince, are you okay? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Bo, once again, thanks. Thank you for your time and stay safe.
Thank you. You guys as well. Be safe down there. Wear your mask and stay away from people.
All right.
All right, guys. God bless.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you. See you. Okay. Okay. Okay.
What do you think, Brian? Ano, Godfather?
Nabitin ako.
Okay, ano?
Oo. And then I wanted to ask about NFL sana, pero yun nga, nagbadali si Nick. Okay lang.
Hindi, okay lang.
Pe-
So,
pero, pero si Bo, ano mo, parang ang dami pa nating hindi ano sa kanya, na top.
may views ba tayo nakuha kahit?
Konti. Meron naman, pero mamaya kasi sa atin naman, Vince, it's not about the live views, it's about the ano after, di ba?
Yeah, oo. Prime time mo naman ano to, di ba, ilalabas mamayang gabi.
Hindi, nakalabas na siya, naka-live siya.
Okay.
Live na yun. So, the views will stack up. Kumbaga, whatever naman yung shows natin, ang umatak talaga sa atin is Screamline. So, the others watch our other videos. Kaya, yun, tingnan mo, nanonood rin mga